Hello guys, welcome to your November 2017 operational case study examination. Before we get started then, my name is Kate Williams, so most of you will know me because you'll have probably had something to do with me from a P1 point of view. However, some of you will be new to HTFT at this point in your studies, so welcome to you. Obviously we'll get to know each other a lot more as the case develops, and you'll get to know a lot about me and what I do, but I will be looking at this case and looking after you guys from a P1 perspective. Obviously the case is going to be covering your E1, where we've got the wonderful Kirsty Blount looking after you, and from an F1 perspective we've also got Joe Watkins looking after you. So that's us three, that's the team, and I'm going to take you through Struans, which is our November case material. I'm going to make this recording quite short and succinct, and what we're going to do is just have a quick look at the material that you've got from a P1 point of view. We will be looking at this, guys, in a lot more detail when we have our live sessions together. But what this overview should do is start to get you thinking about some of the P1 syllabus areas, and depending on when you studied P1, for some of you it's going to be very, very fresh in your mind because you've just sat it now. For others, it may have been the first paper that you sat on operational, and hopefully then this will trigger you to think, oh yes, I need to kind of go and dust off my knowledge on that. And we do obviously give you access to our group so that you've got the knowledge there if you want to go away and look at it. But the way we're going to focus you is by looking at P1 case specific. Okay, so if you do need to go away and refresh an area, that's not going to happen today, and it's unlikely to happen through our case together. It is you to go away and kind of get into that recording and refresh your knowledge, because when we look at it, we're going to be looking at it from an application point of view and in relation to Struans. So we have got Struans then. Who loves a bit of ice cream? Well, let's be honest, who doesn't? It would be nice though to have the weather to match it, and I do wonder that given it's a November case, we may not quite be celebrating with ice creams just yet. All right, but lovely, colourful, bright pictures. So already a nice fresh feel to this case, which is brilliant, guys. So first off then, you are obviously given a job description. This tells you very clearly who you are and the kind of involvement that you're going to have with the business. So you're going to be producing the annual budget and also involved with the monthly management accounts, and then providing information to management as required. So we've got some very specific tasks in terms of the budget and the monthly management accounts. But what this does is it gives you that umbrella of anything else really, pretty much like a normal work environment then. Okay, so the company of Struans then, well, they are a family-based business, aren't they? Okay, and I always think that's quite nice when we have a company that is kind of organically grown from the family. You know, generally speaking, those businesses are going to have very high passion, aren't they? Because, you know, they've built it up for themselves. We're told where they're based then, at Milltown in the country of Newland, and we're dealing with the Newland dollar. It is important that you know the metric, guys. In your case, I know that you will be referring to a dollar because you're used to doing that in terms of your studies. However, when you're typing about anything, it is important that you appreciate who we are and where we are, so make reference to the Newland dollar as well. So we've been around for a while, founded in 1912, and we have diversified from dairy farming into milk retailing, and then more recently into dairy ice cream. So originally then the business was about that dairy farming, which is obviously very traditional. It does show though that they are responsive to changes in the industry, changes in the market, changes in demand, and I think that's really good from a business point of view, to be involved with a business that is quite open to change and diversifying. It also gives you a bit of knowledge that they have got some experience in managing that change as well. In the 1930s, the developing dairy farm moved into milk retailing and became a substantial milk processing retailing business. And then in 1986, they found themselves with a cream surplus as a result of the market shift from full cream milk to semi-skim milk. And this is, you know, health, wasn't it, really? I know when we were kids, back in the days of the dinosaurs, you know, everything was full cream, it was blue top, or as it was then, you know, it was delivered in milk bottles, wasn't it? And then we transferred to those milk cartons that you couldn't open. But everything was full fat. And then there has been this shift in the last 30 years. And I don't really know many people that buy the full fat milk now, although clearly it's still available and still sells well. But what you can see is as people have shifted towards the other elements, so there has been this residual item, hasn't there? Okay, so from a P1 point of view, there you go, I just qualified you all up to managerial level in one sentence. I'm starting to think about joint costs straight away. Okay, and that obviously sits on your P1 syllabus area. So thinking about those joint costs, thinking about the fact that we're still producing, whether it's milk or whether it's ice cream, we still have to produce. You know, the cows have to be fed, they have to be looked after. And then obviously the products will change, and some of it will become just an ordinary milk product, and then some of it will become this investment into ice cream. So the ice cream is then made in the morning and then was sold in the afternoon. The operation rapidly expanded, resulting in the milk produced on the farm being used in the production of dairy ice cream. They are now the leading premium dairy ice cream brands. Okay, so they're a top-end brand, aren't they? They're your Ben and Jerry's of the ice cream world. They're not your Asda Smart Price. And they are renowned for high quality and innovative flavours. We're told what they produce, 11 million litres per year. So we start to have an idea of their potential capacity. And we obviously know what that means from a revenue point of view. We've got 4 different ranges of ice cream produced in several tubs and flavours. We've got the smallest tub being 500 ml. And then we've got the most popular element being the traditional vanilla. I have to put my hand up, I'm in that category. If I'm honest, I'm not really into this ice cream with the chunks such as honeycomb and jelly beans and exotic fruit dairy ice cream. If I'm honest, give me vanilla, a bit of strawberry sauce and a bit of a chocolate flake and I'm a happy lady. Okay, the company is innovative then, and they are constantly developing. So lots of things going on there. We know that they are dealing with multiple products. So when we think about multiple products, what can we think about from a P1 point of view? We can think about limiting factors. We can think about cost, volume, profit analysis. We know that we've got a small tub size of 500 ml. So obviously there are some standards, aren't there? So we've got an element of standardization. We're not making a unique product every single time. And then also we're told about the potential ingredients. We've got multiple flavored with honeycomb, jelly beans, exotic fruit. So I'm starting to think about my variances and thinking about things from a mix and yield point of view. And we can think of that both from a sales perspective and also from a material perspective as well. We are then told that the dairy ice cream is produced on the family's renewable energy powered farm. That's interesting, isn't it? This brings in your environmental management accounting, your consciousness around the environment. We are told that they have 1,500 acre farm with 450 cow dairy herd, and we've got 60 staff who've been there for 20 years. So we do know then around the capacity element again, we've got an idea of, you know, what it's taken to produce these 11 million litres. Okay, we've got a 450 cow dairy herd. So if we started to break it down, you could kind of try and understand how many litres one cow would produce in a year and how much then in a day, if you wanted to kind of get that context on things. Also, we've got over 60 staff. And again, these have been around for a long time. Okay, so the company's obviously got that strong staff loyalty going on. To my mind, I'd want to be checking what rate they're on. I'd be wanting to look at maybe their efficiency. Okay. We need to understand whether or not these guys are all working to maximum capacity. You know, if you start to think about maybe your overhead capacity and efficiency variances, we could have a look at exactly what was going on there. Okay, continuing on then in terms of the product itself, we've obviously got information that tells us that the ice cream ingredients are determined by government legislation. So in order to use the term ice cream, the mix of the ingredients must contain a minimum of 5% dairy fat. If we want to be classing them as dairy ice cream, we have to have 10% fat, and any premium ice cream is going to be between 10 and 16. The highest quality will have 20%, and we know we're in the high quality element. So I would be thinking, you know, I know this is E1 related, but from an ethical point of view, where are we on that? You know, we're not labelling ourselves something that we're not, are we? Because that would be naughty. But from a P1 point of view, again, feeding back into your mixing yield. And remember, when we think about pulling together our products and what our products looks like, from a P1 point of view, we need to bring in our materials, our labour, and our overhead to give us our cost from a unit point of view. And in terms of the materials, it's very clear on what that needs to look like from a content point of view in terms of the fat, dairy fat content. We've then got information about a typical dairy ice cream mix containing the following ingredients by weight. So as we said, we've got dairy fat of 10 to 16%, milk solids, sweeteners, stabilisers, emulsifiers, and water. So from a mix and yield point of view, okay, if you use more of the water, what's going to happen? You're going to get a favourable mix variance, but from a yield point of view, your output will look differently. Okay, so we've got 5 key ingredients there. What's happening if we alter the mix? What happens as a result? And that's really sitting nicely in our P1 syllabus area. We're then told that to the basic mix we add flavourings and chunks to give us those different ice creams. So there is that standard kind of mix. And again, from a joint cost point of view, and whether or not we should be further processing, well, surely we then need to look at incremental costs and revenues to decide whether or not we should in fact go on that joint cost, that further processing journey. Okay, so all of that sits in there with adding to the basic mix. We then have a freezing process where air is incorporated into the dairy mix ice cream, and this increases the volume but not the weight, and this is called an overrun. We're told then if we start off with 1 litre of mix and you make 1.5 litres of dairy ice cream, you've increased the volume by 50%, so we've got this 50% overrun. The amount of overrun varies, with higher quality products having a lower overrun percentage at around 35%, but it can be up to 50% for soft ice cream. Those high quality will be at about 21% dairy fat, 20% overrun. Okay, so I would be saying, where are we on this? Okay, where do we sit on this, guys? It is important that we know where we want to be and, of course, exactly where we are. And again, if we think about our standards, the standards will fit in nicely here because we know that we will have a specific recipe to be adhering to. We then have a nice organisation chart. So the organisation chart is very basic. It's a functional chart, isn't it? And this is something that Kirsty will take you through. However, it is important for us to understand this from a responsibility centre point of view. Okay, although we're not given all of the information here about the responsibility, it does give us an idea on responsibility. So we've obviously got Gavin at the top. who is the managing director, and then we've got Ian, James and Hannah being production, finance, sales and marketing, and then we've got Enid, who is the senior finance officer, then Suresh, who is the finance officer, and then so we know how we feed up. So in terms of our information filtering up to the board, we can see where that's got to go. Clearly Hannah will have her sales team below her, and Ian will have his production team below him, and it's interesting to see exactly how they're split out. Again, if we think about variances and responsibility and budgeting, all of these fit into our P1 syllabus, and therefore it's important that we're able to match the relevant performance measures or the relevant targets with the relevant areas. Okay. We then have further information about each of the company directors in terms of their role. So we've got the production element, where we have the ice cream production managed by Ian, who is an engineer by profession. He's been there since 2010 as the production director when his parents retired. Together with Gavin, he has developed the company's different ice cream flavours, and Ian is keen to expand the company further, and is always looking at potential new products and flavouring. So clearly the organisation are dealing quite heavily from an R&D point of view. They are keen to invest and to develop. And if we think about life cycle costing at all, obviously it is important that we are factoring these costs in as well. The actual operation then, where the ice cream is produced on the company's 1,500 acre farm, and it is a fully automated milking parlour and ice cream dairy, and the milk is being pumped directly to the dairy. So what I would be thinking here then is, if we deal with this company from an absorption costing point of view, which I do believe we are told later on, what would be the basis for absorbing these overheads? Maybe it's going to be the number of hours from a machine point of view, as well as being the company's leading brand, the nation's leading brand. The company is also known as one of the greenest. So again, from an environmental point of view, it is important that we maintain that image. We are told then that the company generates the equivalent amount of energy required to make 4 million litres of dairy ice cream. So we make 11 million in a year. Okay, so we're probably looking at just under a third of our production can be made from renewable energy. So just less than a third of our production. So that's quite exciting, isn't it? It's just over a third actually, isn't it? Sorry, just over a third. The potential then for contamination is an ever-present concern. So this is some risk, isn't it, that we've got. The company has mitigated the risk, so it's managed the risk by ensuring the production facilities of the highest standard, with health and safety being a top priority, and we have highly trained staff. Okay. The production staff are also responsible for the purchasing of raw materials and managing the supply chain. The main purchases are sweeteners, skim milk powder, flavourings, and we have built strong relationships with the same suppliers for a number of years. So again, thinking about responsibility, thinking about the autonomy that we may be giving people when we're setting budgets. Okay, so from a budgeting point of view, and in terms of responsibility accounting, we have given them quite a lot of responsibility there. Also then, we need to consider the control element, because from a control point of view, what areas are within their control? Again, thinking specifically about variances, we'll have some planning variances and some operational variances. So thinking about appraising their performance based on what is in their control. We then move on to our sales and marketing area, and this is the lovely Hannah Struan, who graduated from the Newland University, who's been a marketing executive, but again, she's been here since 2010. Again, focusing on the strong relationships that we have with our customers, in particular those larger supermarkets, but being aware that we have struggled to maintain our margins, okay? People are trying to negotiate lower prices. So again, we've got a risk area here when we start to think about maybe changing the mix of our product, because obviously we know that we are a high quality premium dairy ice cream company. Okay, so it would change who we are if we were to change that mix around. Obviously, there's a lot of promotions such as buy one, get one free offers. Interestingly enough then, I'm sure you will all have appreciated the nature of the product means that we have some seasonality. Okay, so from a seasonal variation, that's going to be quite important to us, isn't it? Okay. Thinking about forecasting forward, thinking about our time series, thinking about our trends, all of those things coming in when trying to obviously plan for the future. We also have the fact that obviously we do want to reduce the impact of the weather on sales volume, okay, but this is difficult, isn't it? So again, from a decision-making point of view, we might even start to build in things like our probabilities. Do we deal with expected values? Sorry guys, I went the wrong way there. Expected values, obviously we have our payoff tables, maybe perfect information. You know, if we could get the weather right, then maybe we can get our marketing and our sales right as well. So again, picking out risk and all of those different areas associated with it there. Then from a finance IT point of view, all of this very important stuff. This guy here is a tough negotiator. He is a CIMA qualified accountant. This is James Struan. He likes to keep a tight rein on the company's finances. So I'd start to bring in there the nature of our budgeting. Do we have any kind of participative budgeting? What kind of control is he putting there, or is he imposing that? So we need to discuss the potential impacts of that. He also, again, confirms that we do use a standard absorption costing system, but he does like information to be as accurate and useful as possible. So what kind of standards has he set? Because obviously, from an accurate point of view, standards are quickly out of date. And again, from a useful point of view, actually, is absorption even relevant anymore? If we want to make it useful, should we consider switching to ABC? We then have information about the industry in Newland, so really finding out there about how the performance has been in terms of our product. So we do need to understand the product analysis. From a bulk point of view, this is obviously who we are. This is Struans, okay? The largest sector is the bulk sector, and then you go all the way down to that single portion ice cream. So really the opposite ends of the spectrum being the two most profitable, or the most generating from a revenue point of view. Then we also give them more information about sales. So again, we need to think about our sales from looking internally from that planning and operational perspective, because obviously the market share and the market size may well change. So what's within our control, that's the share. What's out of our control, that would be the size. We also then have market trends, so talking about people cutting back on their consumption, but actually trading up in terms of quality. So maybe eating less of the cheaper stuff, but having the quality elements. Family size packs suffering the most. So the bulk dairy ice cream sector seeing falling sales, and we know that's where we are, so we're going to have to do something about that. We need to make some plans to overcome that. So again, there's a big risk element here, isn't there, in terms of revenue. We then get quite a lot of focus in this case about further health benefits, and we do think this is somewhere that the case is going to go, at least on one of the variants. So maybe thinking about alternative, so your frozen fruit, your yogurts, maybe smoothies. So just thinking about those alternative options. Nowhere near as tasty though, hey guys. Okay, so what's happened then again? We've got the dairy ice cream industry expected to see below inflation unit price growth. So from a price variance, should we be seeing any sales price variance? Probably not, because we're not actually seeing any difference, are we? And if anything, it might be that we have to reduce to increase our sales because we have got that strong competition going on. We do have this strong price competition. We've got a fairly small channel with less % market share in terms of that growth element, but we are expecting to increase the market share in that area in 2017. These are increasingly focused on quality, whilst also continuing to expand their networks across the country. This channel is notably creating pricing pressure for other supermarkets in bulk and multi-pack dairy ice cream. We still have vanilla being our most popular flavour, followed by chocolate and strawberry. These flavours continue to enjoy popularity. So again, you know, maybe thinking about cost, volume, profit analysis, maybe thinking about resource allocations. It would be interesting to see if they are also the most profitable from a contribution point of view. The competitor situation, we can see that the producers have responded to this unhealthy image of ice cream by reducing calorie levels. So people are trying to change things. They're also looking at maybe changing pack sizes. And also, as the pack size is reduced, not actually changing the selling price. Okay, so actually what you'd expect to see here then is the mix hasn't changed because we didn't change the recipe, but the standard has changed in terms of what's actually going in because we've got a smaller pack size, but the selling price hasn't changed, so we wouldn't expect the variance there. So that's what we should be seeing if we're given a variant schedule, maybe those changes. One major producer has launched a range of vegan dairy-free, gluten dairy-free. So we've got all of the intolerances that you may want to consider looking at as well. And obviously the environmental image also being very important again.